What is the quickest way you've seen someone fuck their life up? This kid I know, his cousin gave him a gun over the holidays as a present. So this dumbass ordered pizza with his friends, and instead of paying they robbed the delivery guy. Again, this is after they gave the address and name for the order. So now because he just turned 18 he's being tried as an adult and faces like 10 years or more for being stupid. A friend of mine took out a loan for $250,000, I promise, I am not exaggerating this number, to pay for her dream wedding to a guy she had known for 3 months. They got divorced after less than a year, and she is still in debt from it. How does someone even get a loan approved for that amount? For a wedding? Pretty sure you've gotta commit fraud. Yeah, I definitely need a second mortgage on my house for you know how stuff. Absolutely not for a wedding with live elephants and shit. I would love to be a wedding guest and eat my gold-covered popcorn as that shit implodes. There was a mortgage involved. No gold popcorn though. Last year a guy that my dad worked with decided to download Child Norp on a US Postal Service computer. This guy was in his 60s, had a wife and was generally living the old person life with financial freedom. He got arrested and his wife had no access to anything because he had everything in his name. Lawyer wouldn't cooperate with her. I've never seen two people's lives destroyed so quickly. Girl had a fully paid scholarship to Yale and gave it up because her boyfriend wanted her to study at his community college so that they wouldn't be apart. She got dumped just 3 months later and fell into a downward spiral of depression and drugs. Last I heard of her, she had dropped out of the college and was working as a waitress at some restaurant. People in my high school who drove like idiots and got themselves killed. Some of them were drunk, but even when they were sober they did stupid shit on the road. One guy got impatient and tried to pass a car and plowed into oncoming traffic, and died. I remember on the way to a senior skip day celebration, I struggled to keep up with everyone else because they were all doing 100 in a 60 miles per hour zone. One girl got plastered and wrapped her car around a tree. One guy fell out of a car because he was drunk and fooling around. And every fucking time, people shed tears and ask, "Why do the good die young?" As if it isn't going to happen to one of the other dozens of idiots driving like jackasses a few months later. I saved an idiot from this. We're all stuck behind a slow-moving truck or whatever, and due to oncoming traffic we can't overtake. This is life. It sucks, but oh well. Then some idiot starts playing chicken and leapfrogging car by car, barely making it back into the right lane before the oncoming traffic that had been braking hard to not hit him zoomed past. I'm the one behind the truck, with massive long vehicle notices on it, and then I see two things, him edging to try and leapfrog me and an 18-wheeler in the other lane. Honestly, I could have let him die. Instead I did perhaps the stupidest thing I have ever done in a car. Right before he pulled out to try and fly past me, I yanked the wheel over and blocked him, brake-checked him and sent him swerving and braking back into the other lane. I got back into my lane about a half second before the 18-wheeler screamed past, leaning on his horn. The dude would have had no chance to pass if he'd been in that lane, and would have hit the 18-wheeler head-on, 100%. As a thank you he floored it past both me and the truck 10 seconds later on a blind corner, flipping me off as he did so. This was 7 to 8 years ago. I'm pretty sure he's dead by now. A guy I know and I went to a casino for fun once. I lost about $20 on a slot and $50 on drinks and buffet. But that guy I knew lost $1,250 before I kinda stopped him. After a year he lost everything, including his family, because of gambling addiction. I still regret bringing him to a casino time to time. My brother knows a guy who won $400K in a lawsuit, and lost it all in one night gambling. I don't understand gambling at all. I find it boring as fuck. Bet a small amount on an MMA fight. When I do, I suddenly get much more interested, yelling at the TV and going nuts for 5 minutes. It's a hell of a time. Meth. A beautiful cousin of mine went from being a successful social worker with a master's from UK, a beautiful family, and gorgeous home to a single, jobless meth head with both of her children in the same system she worked for. Got meth mouth in record time. I was going to say, I'm currently studying to become a social worker. I graduate this year and I have no clue how you end up becoming addicted to meth. Any social worker knows the dangers of heroin, meth, crack, and a few others and the impact that they have on a person and society. I know some who do psychedelics and weed but would never touch that shit. People try harder drugs thinking they'll be one of the ones that just tries it to see how it feels. Then, it turns out it feels really, really good. One guy described how on meth he cleaned his kitchen spotless. He kicked meth, and his kitchen became a mess because he'd remember the feeling of how amazing cleaning on meth was, compared to how boring cleaning sober is. Driving under the influence of alcohol. Had a friend in high school who is serving a life sentence for killing 2 other friends of mine. He had a full scholarship to a 4-year university for football. Didn't just fuck his own life up. Destroyed a couple families in the process. Worst part was it was Mother's Day morning when it all happened. It was a shit year. He pled not guilty and the trial went on for ages. Not a fun time. This happened in a 2-week period. A friend of mine lost his kitchen job due to layoffs. Looked in the paper for a job he could get quick so he can make his bills, rent, etc. Finds a listing for a company looking for a delivery person ASAP. He has a car so he figures it would be a good quick fix. Calls and gets the job over the phone, and is told he starts the next evening. Gets a company, cell phone and does his first pickup. Turns out it's an escort agency, and he's picking up and dropping off the talent. Does this for a few nights and starts getting to know the girls. Turns out they're all addicted to crack. Big surprise. They get the idea in his head that he's doing all the groundwork so he might as well post the ads himself, and get his own phone, and they'll work for him. So we're about a week into this adventure, and he's gone from line cook to pimp. Fast forward a couple of days into pimping and he comes to the conclusion that all these girls spend their money on his crack, so why not cut out the middleman and start paying them in what they want. He doesn't know where to get crack, but his kitchen buddies can hook him up with coke. Gets a bag of coke and googles how to make crack. Yes, really. Whips up a batch of kitchen crack and then is concerned that maybe he didn't make it correctly, so logically he should try it first before giving it to his ladies. 36-hour crack binge later, he's hooked and proceeds to sell off everything including the car and phone in the next few days. I dropped by his place to hang out around day 10. I had no idea any of this was going on. He meets me at the door, explains what he's been up to for the past few days, and says he doesn't want me there unless I'd like to pay and hook up with one of the crackheads in his living room. Strangely, I declined. Last time I saw him he was cracked out yelling at people for change on a downtown street. 14 days and his entire life turned to garbage. I was the catcher for a kid in my town who was a nasty pitcher from an early age. At 16 or 17 he could throw 90 miles per hour fastballs, breaking balls, whatever. It was a bitch to catch and I had to keep a wet sponge inside my mitt in case I caught one directly in the palm. He was drafted 12th overall by the Marlins and received a $1.8 million signing bonus that he got before he even went to spring training. Ended up blowing over $1.5 million on drugs and partying. Developed a coke habit that turned into an oxy habit that turned into heroin. Lost his ability to play, lost his spot on the team, and his shot at many millions of dollars. It wasn't exactly overnight, but the dude wasted a mother-in-law and half plus everything he would have gotten had he continued his upward trajectory, and it all happened in about 8 months. My cousin's husband got into a drunken fight outside a bar and punched the other guy pretty hard. Other guy fell, hit his head on the curb and died. Cousin's husband is now in jail. She took their kids and got remarried. What makes it even worse is that the new husband is a total jackass, so not only did those kids lose their dad, they're now stuck with a dick for a stepdad. A few months ago I had a friend of mine ask me if I wanted to try crack with him. I was busy so I politely declined. He now has 3 different dealers calling up at the job looking for money. He's totaled 2 cars, only one of which was his. Everyone hates him now because he's always begging for money and lying to everyone, and his mother had him locked up for stealing from her house. We've been watching this dude ruin his life for the past few months, and he won't listen to anyone when we tell him it's obvious his addiction is causing it. You declined crack cocaine because you were busy? That's extremely fortunate. Yeah, well, honestly, before I watched all that happen I had the mentality that I would try anything once. Seeing that though made me realize that lines had to be drawn somewhere, and that I'll never try hard drugs. Watching a friend sign up for $620 car payments over a 72-month loan, not necessarily fuck up their life, but definitely hasn't felt comfortable for the last 2.5 years. At a party with a friend. I didn't know her friends well. Someone offers us heroin and I want to leave. She, on the other hand, has a crush on the guy and wants to stay. She assures me she isn't interested in trying it. I try to talk her out of it and to just leave with me, but no. Plus, I'm starting to get shit for being lame, and I want out. The last thing she said to me before I left was, "You're a fucking drag and a terrible friend." I told her if worrying for her and my safety made me a drag and a bad friend, that I was okay with it. She died that night. So did he. Batch was laced with fentanyl, and they both owed. Not me, but a friend was in AP Chem, and they were working with some sodium something, and his classmates snorted it as a cocaine joke. He was rushed to the ER, and now his risk for nasal and lung cancer is through the roof. His predicted lifespan is like mid-30s, maybe early 40s now, and it was all for a shitty drug reference. Oh boy. Snorting random substances in chemistry class? Major Darwin Awards contender. My ex-wife had 4 beautiful kids, 2 girls, twin boys, decent job, and an MBA with way more earning potential than she was at. She had fat removal surgery, got obsessed with the attention she received from losing weight, Instagram, etc., met some guy on this game she played, cheated, tried to make it work, my fault for not ending it. She went on a trip for work, met some other guy, fell in love, meth and heroin, landed a surprisingly great job, got fired 2 months later for not performing and being late, or sick, all the time, double deposited her paychecks at least twice. Now she's awaiting trial for 4 felonies, presumably still doing drugs, and has no right to see the kids because I refuse to let them see her around that shit. She makes no effort to see them and blames everyone else for her problems. Don't do drugs, kids, or be a self-obsessed ever victim. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.